Hi everyone, welcome back to the series. So, this is episode 6 of the Extraterrestrial Messages and Revelations series. I'm going to be talking just a bit more about cyborgs. And there are very interesting revelations in this episode. And it took me a few days more to get the information. So it is quite interesting and quite complex, but it's very interesting at the at the least. Some things that were communicated to me were very surprising. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna talk about cyborgs, like I said, and also about the Greys and their background, evolutionary background, as they said, and about their physical structure, about what they are exactly, in terms of like human understanding, and what their job is really when they come to Earth. I think many of you would have figured by now that they have something to do, a lot to do actually, with the protection of Earth in many different ways, on many different levels. It's a whole spectrum of protection. It extends far beyond what we can comprehend as protection. And like I've mentioned before in the series, that the protection itself is very tedious for the Greys. It's a lot of hard work for them, but they are tasked to do them. Now, for the first time as well, they've mentioned a lot about the Prey Mantis, extraterrestrial beings, and the connection that they have with the Greys or with other ET races as well. They also talk in this episode. They will talk about the hybridization process and what some other reasons as well for hybridization. I believe they have a purpose for revealing the reasons as the series goes on, because they are quite, numerous and varied. So, the first thing that they communicated to me was that the Greys are physically much more frail or weaker physically than humans. They also wanted to clarify that their skin as Greys is actually grey. It is not pink or red or whatever some other people have said. The skin itself, they said the skin itself is grey. They view humans as physically strong, but not excessively strong, like the reptilians are. The reptilians can be very destructive physically. They're very strong physically. So they are quite fond of the strength of the the human composition, because they like it, because it's very specific to what they prefer. Future offspring and hybrid offspring to the qualities of physical strength to be present. They prefer that than having them physically weak, like they see themselves as physically weak but intellectually very able. They said that the Nordics also allow Greys to hybridize with them, but the Greys love humans because not only because of their physical composition, it is because of our emotions, especially when they are positive and loving. So much so that they often choose humans for hybrids, but will often eliminate primate genes or portions of some of the genome, which has to do or that have to do with being aggressive or tyrannical or combative, which are primate traits, and they lead to many conflicts, and they lead to many why many humans, of us humans, I'm sure everyone has been through a period of time where they've seen a lot of people being combative or aggressive with each other, or some people trying to enforce their opinion on other people and make them do what they want. All of these things are come as a result of the primate genes. They're very peaceful, the Greys. They're very peaceful. They're very, like I mentioned before, they're very kind. They're very sweet. I've never ever had any kind of aggressive communication from them, or felt at any point that they wanted to force me to do something that I didn't want to do or didn't agree to. They were always gentle with me. They do have an issue with the AI or cyborg greys that are created by some reptilian factions to penetrate the Universal Intergalactic Federation security. And this extends not only on the surface or in the sky or in the heavens or on the surface of Earth, but it goes, they said, down deep to below the surface of Earth. They said there's a whole world underneath the Earth, underneath where we live, here on the crust of the Earth, and maybe a little bit down below the crust, but we extend there, but they very deep within the Earth, there is water, they said. There are places that are like big chambers, big cracks where creatures can exist. And they have a lot of work that is connected to that part of the Earth. The planet that they come from, or the planets they said that they come from, are mainly very bright, but very cold. They're not hot or warm. So they prefer sheltered areas underneath the surface of the Earth. To them, it's no problem with regards to survival, because they have adapted already to avoid the bright lights. If you see the previous episodes, you will see that the coverings, even the black coverings that are on their eyes, are to avoid the brightness of the suns that they have in their own worlds. Now, underneath the ground, they have a very specific, they said they live there, they descend from the sky, they go into the ground. If you've seen it around volcanoes, especially when they want to erupt and so on, you'll see many of their ships coming down and going up. Not just Greys, but many other extraterrestrial species that come and they go into the ground with their ships. They can materialize and dematerialize. This is a technology that they have, and it's like teleportation, for example. They have that as a technology, whereas we would have it as something spiritual and think of it as something divine or something like incredible or amazing. If you've had any experiences with teleportation, I personally have had, and I've seen things appear from nothing in front of me, and I've been with many very powerful spiritual people who are able to do that. And occasionally when we do cleansings on people, sometimes things appear within the cleansings, especially when we use eggs, for example, to cleanse negativity. That is something that many spiritual people will be, or many people will be familiar with if they have a spiritual inclination, the cleansing with eggs and the removal of negativity. But they are very peaceful. They have this teleportation. They have business, they said, underneath the surface of the Earth that has to do with the regulation of the planet. They said that the planet is very active under the surface, especially volcanoes and so on, and they do their best to prevent any kind of sudden eruption or any calamities that could happen because of these things, and that is part of their work. Okay, so you find that they're very active around volcanoes, and when volcanoes want to erupt, they work in close proximity to the Prey Mantis species, because the Prey Mantis species, they said they're very wise, they're very organized, they're very peaceful. They are connected to the energy of divine as well. So they see them as if you'd see, like when you see a priest or someone that you go to that is very, has authority, divine authority, maybe in the olden days, kings and queens. So they see them like that, the Prey Mantis. They showed me a vision once when it was just for a split second, they showed me this place under the earth where I could see a huge crack underneath the surface of the earth. There was some light there, but I didn't know if it was artificial or if it's actually from the sun. I couldn't see. I just saw a few grays there. And when I went with my vision, with my third eye, and went into that place, suddenly the Prey Mantis was standing, and behind it were a few greys, and they turned their heads and looked at me. And so they could see my energy looking at them, and it was just silently they looked at me. They didn't look threatening or anything, they just saw me. And then the vision ended. So they have worked. The Prey Mantis was huge compared to the greys. It was like very big compared to them, the size. I would say 3 or 4 times the size of the greys, or even more. But it was a very fresh green color, and I felt a lot of divine power with it and focus. So the greys, they have a lot of work that has to do with balancing the energies of planet Earth. These are very old treaties that they've had, that have started even before Homo sapiens sapiens was created, and this creation that we have now, that they have a lot of hope for, to progress and to be spiritually enlightened, to join the intergalactic community. Before our race, anyway, a long time ago, they've had these treaties, and it's something long-standing. This is also, they said, an explanation for the sonic booms, or the loud sounds, or the sounds of breaking glass, loud booms, trumpet sounds. These are all to do with their craft and teleportation. Their craft is 90-something percent, they said to me, cloaked. We can't see it, we can't feel it. It's interdimensional. They go with it into the earth. Sometimes we can hear the sound of it. That's how they explain them. Hopefully, they will expand more in other episodes of the series about the booms and what exactly they are and so on. Now, going back to how this is a very rich episode, because they have a lot of information. They gave me a lot of information this time. The booms also there is something going on underneath the crust of the earth, okay, where the biological greys have an issue with the AI greys, because the AI greys are an imitation of them that they're not very happy about, because they're, like I said, they're created by some reptilian factions to bypass the security of the Universal Intergalactic Federation. So they go there, they create problems, they have issues, but they have them under control, they said. But they have to, when they sense an AI presence that is like that, they have to eliminate it, they said. And I don't know whether they teleport them somewhere else, or they, blow them up, or whatever they do, I don't know. But they said that in any case, they eliminate them and and get rid of them, because they are problematic. Okay, so they have a very strong force that is guarding against that. Okay, so the other thing they said was that the greys are amphibian, or very close to amphibians by nature. They do not give birth like people do. They lay eggs. They said that they were originally similar to amphibians, but now it is another evolution of that, but they still retain the fact that they would lay the eggs to create, like to reproduce. And now they said that it is done artificially, and they prefer it like this. They said that they've had an issue in the past with some reptilian factions targeting their eggs and their offspring, and I don't know what they did, but it sounded to me as if they consumed these eggs somehow, or ate them, or stole them. It wasn't exactly nice, but this is like with the factions that are a small percentage of the reptilian lineages that they're very like wary about, there's something going on there with them. Now they did say that both AI greys and biological greys do the cattle mutilations, which are known as cattle mutilations. However, the biological greys do the mutilations to preserve Earth's ecosystem. They study the certain parts of animals that they gather, and they are very rich in certain toxins in the environment or pollutants, and they analyze them to see how Earth is doing environmentally to protect Earth from destruction and the climate from destruction. There is that when the AI, however, do the mutilations, they take these things to reptilians who use the parts. It's like they likened it to a game that these AI factions play. They take the portions of the cattle that are mutilated, and it's like they pretend they study them, so that basically that their cover isn't blown. But actually what happens is that they take them, and some reptilian factions, they use them as sustenance. They eat them. So they are very, very passionate about protecting Earth, about protecting us, about protecting the biological greys. There is an agreement that is very positive and loving between the extraterrestrial races, the biological ones. The AI is a separate issue. It's related to a faction of reptilians. They stopped talking about it at this point. They just said that it's a positive and loving treaty to preserve Earth. And this is the episode is also, they said they wanted to warn people and to make people use their discretion when they deal with certain greys. Like I said in my past episode, because of being psychic, I can actually feel the energy of a certain craft when I see it. And I know that this is one, for example, driven by AI. The energy is a bit weird and it's different. It's a very, very I don't know how to describe it, an empty and troubling energy that I get from crafts like that. But then there are very positive, beautiful crafts that are almost like with angelic energy and really high vibrational, that have to do with the biological craze. So this is basically what they are aiming to, the knowledge that the revelations that they're aiming to give us about the cyborgs. And this is where they went into it a little bit deeper. The Nordics, like the Greys and all the higher races that are biological, they want us to succeed. They want us to not clash, to not fight, to not have this aggression between us as humans. They want the human race to ascend spiritually and to open up to peace and to love and to spirituality, so that they can develop it, because everybody is capable of doing it. It just takes a desire to be like that, and training. It's like anything. If you train yourself hard enough, you will be able to do it. They said that this is coming naturally now to the planet, this energy. It is under very powerful protection. And once we ascend and we go into the next stage, I think a lot of the planet now has ascended already, but when we complete the stage and are ascended and spiritual and open-minded, then the Homo sapien will be free to join the intergalactic Universal Intergalactic Federation as a full-blown member and bigwig within the Federation. They have a lot of hope for us, and I also have a lot of hope for us. And they say that we're all amazing, we're all part of one consciousness. Everyone listening is amazing, you're important, you're part of the one consciousness, and we are strong, both physically and spiritually. And we are very important to the universe, so we need to open up to love and spirituality. Leave materialism behind, because at some point everybody's gonna be okay. Okay? It's not like some people are gonna keep having a lot of money and some are not gonna have, or some people are gonna be privileged and not. At some point in the future, everyone is gonna be okay and wealthy, okay, and open to all of the amazing things that provides. So it really was amazing getting this information from them. And in my next episode, I think I've done enough about the Greys and the Cyborgs by now. In my next episode, I'm going to be talking about Mars, the planet Mars and its history. I know this is very interesting for all of us. So they promised me that they'll reveal a lot of information about Mars. And next episode, I'm going to be talking about Mars. I might revisit these issues if anyone has a specific question that they want an answer to. Please leave it in the comments, and I will do an episode for you, and I will go and ask that question and see what answer I can retrieve from them to the best of my ability. But the next episode is going to be about Mars. I love you all so much. You're all amazing people, fabulous people, fantastic. And be loving, be strong, be wise, and be spiritual. We are going to make it. We are going to be okay. And I will see you guys in your next episode. Thank you so much, you guys.